Hello everyone, this is Aubrey Harrison and this is a tutorial on how to develop a walkthrough form. This is a highly requested document at the beginning of a school year, and I've been asked to develop a video that will assist others in developing a walkthrough form as well. So I'm going to show you the way that I do it. The end result of this is a walkthrough form that your administrators will be able to complete. Once they have completed the walkthrough form, once they hit submit, all their information is going to go into this merged Google document. This Google document will have all the feedback that they typed into their Google form. These tags that you see in here, those will be replaced with whatever information they typed in the form, and they will receive a copy of it in their Google Drive in a folder here. And the teacher will also receive a copy in their Google Drive. They will also get an email copy of that same document, so they will have access to it in multiple ways. So that is the end result. I'm also going to show you a few additional advanced features that you can do with this as well. These are common features that principals really seem to appreciate. It is some extra work for you, the developer, but it is something that your administrator will appreciate at the end. The extra things I'm going to show you is, first, instead of all of the response forms going into that walkthrough feedback folder, we're going to break those out into folders, in this case by grade level. And you could do this by other identifying items like subject, but we're going to set it up so that anytime a principal fills out a walkthrough on a ninth grade teacher is going to go into the ninth grade folder, and if it's a 10th grade teacher, it's going to go into a 10th grade folder. I'm going to show you how to set that up. I'm also going to show you how to set up your form so that it pre-populates information about the teacher. So when the principal is ready to fill out information about a teacher, they can just click on the teacher's name and it'll open up the form with their information already in their name, grade level, subject. All that stuff will automatically be in there. That's not something the principal will have to fill out each time they go to answer a question, which is really nice if you have a large school. If you have 100 teachers, it makes it easier if all that teacher's information is already pre-populated in there. So I'm going to show you how to do that and automate that for all your teachers. So let's get started. So the first thing I did to develop my walkthrough form is I first created a folder, and this folder is going to house everything. And this was the folder I created, Harrison High School walkthrough form, and this particular folder will contain everything related to my walkthrough form. The form itself, my template, all my feedback responses, and the whole thing. If I don't put it in there, everything will be in my Google Drive. And if you're okay with that, that's certainly fine. But I like to keep everything organized in one place, and it just makes it easier for me. So I just create a folder. So I would do that. All you have to do is go to New, Folder. You can give it a name, and then that will create that folder for you. So inside my folder, I have a few items. The first thing that you want to start with is the actual form itself. So here is my form. If you, all you would need to do is go to New, More, and then Google Forms to create your form. I already have mine created. And I have all the information that I would want captured. The teacher's name, the teacher's email address. Now the email address is important because this is how we are going to send this information to their Google Drive. It's also how we are going to email this to them. So I need to capture this at some point. So I put this in my form as an option for the administrator to select. So I include that in there, and then any other identifying information that you need, grade level, subject, and then you can begin asking questions about what you want to evaluate them on for the walkthrough form. So you include that in your Google form. So that is the next step. You need to create your form, capture everything that you need to collect, and put that in there. And then once you have your form created, you need to develop a merge document. You need to create a Google document that is going to serve as a template where everything, all your feedback is going to be merged to. So let me show you what that looks like. So this is what my merge template will look like. You see, I just included a picture, a title, I got the name of the school in here, and then in here what you're going to notice is I have some items in bold. Now I put the bold in here. You do not have to put this. Again, the format of this can look like however you want it to look. The items in bold are the questions that I have in my form. So you're going to want to put that in there. You want to be able to make sure the teacher can identify what each item is. And then I have these tags in here. I will show you a little bit more about the tags as we go along, but the key thing to remember is the tags are essentially the column names. Whenever you create a Google form, you can send all of the responses to a Google spreadsheet. The spreadsheet at the very top will have a column header that will contain, let me show you, that will contain each question. So these are all the questions that are in my form. And all I did was I copied each column header. I copied each column header, teacher name, and then I put them into my template right here. And I put these brackets or characters around it twice. So that's how we can identify this as a tag. So I put these open brackets, teacher name, because that was the name of the column here. And then I put my close bracket. And then I did the same thing for each item. For grade level, for block, I just went through and copied each one of these. And the important part is I want them to be exact. I want these things to be exactly what is on my spreadsheet. It's going to make things easier for me a little bit later on as we go through and run the script for Autocrat to make all of this come together. So we have our form, all of our information on it. After we do our form, we need to have our document that has all of our questions, and then we need to tag all of the column headers that are in our spreadsheet. And again, the key part about the tags is this is how we're going to merge all of our responses into this template. It's just like mail merge, but this is an important piece for that. So you'll have to take your time and make sure you get that part done accurately. So once your template is done, let's take a look at your spreadsheet where we can begin working with the add-on to make everything come together. So in your Google form, you'll have the responses tab up here. You want to make sure you're in the editor section. You don't want to be in the preview section. You want to make sure that you are in the editor section where you can see the question tab and as well as the responses tab. So you're going to click responses, and then you're going to want to make sure that you click on this button over here to turn on your sheet to collect all your responses. Once you click on it, it's going to ask you, do you want to create a new one or do you want to send it to an existing sheet? I would just create a brand new one and start from there. So I've already done that, and it brings everything to this spreadsheet for me. So everything will come here. Now it's typically easier if you already have some data in here. So when we run the script, we'll be able to know if it's working if we already have some information in here. So I am going to just fill this out real quick so we have some data in here. Okay, so now I filled out my form twice. So I see you have 2 bits of information in here, two columns of data. So now we are going to run the script to make all of this work. So the script is called Autocrat, and it's going to be up here in add-ons. So when I click add-ons, I already have it here selected. If you do not have add-ons, if you do not have Autocrat's one of your add-ons, you'll have to just click add-ons, go down to get add-ons, and you will be able to search for Autocrat in here. You can just simply go in here and type in Autocrat, type that in there, and then you'll be able to find Autocrat here. Just click on it, add the add-on. You may have to allow permissions to view certain bits of information, but that is the add-on that we are going to use for this. So once you get that add-on selected in there, I'm going to open mine and hit launch. And the first thing it's going to say, it says is there's no merge jobs yet, so we have to set some up. No problem. So we're going to select new job. We're going to give this job a name and hit next. Once we have given the name, we're going to hit next. The next part, number 2, is going to ask you to choose that template. The template is that Google document that we made, that Google document that had the merge templates and everything in it, the merge tags. That's the one that we want. So I'm going to go to from my Google Drive, it's going to open up my Google Drive for me, and now I can search for that particular Google document. Here it is, my Harrison walkthrough template. I can select that one and click select. It's going to show up here. There it is. Now I'm going to go to the next step and hit next. And here's the next part. This is a very important piece. This part here where it says map source data to template. So basically what it did is it pulled up the information that we had in our template. It pulled up all of the tags that we typed in our template. Those tags I was telling you about, it pulled all of those up here. And now it's matching each one of those tags with the column name. So we want to make sure that those match. And you see, since we copied and pasted them right over, it already connected a lot of these for us, which is why it's important for us to copy and paste. If we don't copy and paste, then what we would have to do is, I think I have one example down here where it's incorrect or it's not exact. You would have to click on each one and select the proper column header to connect it to, which is theoretically not a big deal, but it just makes it easier if you already have them exact. So that is this next part, and like I said, if you copy and paste all of this stuff over, then a lot of these should already be matched up for you. So once that part is done, we are going to select next, and it's going to ask us for our file name. This is where we have to come up with a naming convention for what the file is going to be called. Now I could just go in here and call this Harrison High School walkthrough. The problem with that, every time an observer fills out this form, that's what it's going to be called. I have no way of knowing who I'm observing, who this particular walkthrough form is for. So I want to make sure that I identify who this person is. So I'm just going to include a tag that will pull that teacher's name. So remember before we had a tag in there called teacher name. So I'm going to put that tag in there. So now the naming convention will say Harrison High School walkthrough form, and then it'll have that teacher's name, whatever name of the teacher that we're evaluating, it'll put that in there as well. So that's something that's nice to have. I can choose whether for it to be either a Google Doc or a PDF. I'm going to leave mine as a Google document. And then I can either make this multiple documents or a single document. Multiple documents meaning every single time you complete an observation, it's going to create a separate feedback document. A single document would mean every single observation would go on just one running document. So I'm going to leave mine on multiple documents so that each individual observation will generate its own sheet, its own document. So I'm going to select next. This is going to ask me to choose my destination folder. So if you remember, we created the walkthrough feedback folder. So I'm going to hit choose folder. And we created the Harrison High walkthrough folder. So I'm going to select that one, double click on it, and then we created this walkthrough feedback folder. So I want everything to go in there. So I'm going to click on that once so it's selected. I don't want to double click on it. I just want to click on it once so it's selected, and then click select. So now all my responses will go back inside this folder. And I'm going to hit next. This next part is add a dynamic folder reference. We're going to do this at the end. This is one of the extra features I was telling you about. I'm going to show this to you at the end, but for right now, we are going to skip it. And then it's going to also ask us to set merge condition, meaning are there times where you don't want this to run, or what conditions do you want this to run? I want this to run all the time for me, so I'm not going to add any conditions. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I'm going to select next. Then this last part here, or the second to last part, excuse me, where it's asking me to share or email documents. I do want to share this. I want to make this available to my teachers. So I'm going to select yes to share the document. When I share it, you have options here in terms of what kind of of permissions they will have. I'm going to set mine as a view only. I don't want them to be able to edit this document, but I'm going to set it as a view only. Gives me an option to allow collaborators to reshare. You can choose if that's an option that you want. Send a generic no reply address. You can do that if you want to. I am actually just going to hit yes. I am going to do that. And then down here is where I can put the information that I want to include inside of this. So in my to section, I'm going to put my email merge tag. So I think we had a option in there for email addresses. So I'm going to put email address, and then I can type in the subject for my message, and then I can put information in here for I can type my message that my teachers will receive whenever a walkthrough has been completed. So you'll notice I put a tag in there, so the tags also work inside of here as well. So if you wanted to include some of the tags that were a part of your form, you can certainly do that in here as well. Once you have completed your message, you can hit next. And this last part is setting the triggers. When do you want this to execute? When do you want things to start running? This first option is run on form trigger, meaning every single time somebody hits submit, the script will run. Or the other option is to run on time trigger, where if I choose to run on a time trigger, I can select what time, how often I want this to run. So if I choose to run on time trigger, I can let it run every hour, 2 hours, just the other options down there. I'm going to actually say no, and I'm going to choose for it to run on form trigger, meaning run on every time someone hits submit. Alright, once I am done here, I can hit save. And now everything in here is set up. So all I would need to do to run this is to get everything started is move my cursor and above up here so that this is highlighted, and then I have this play button that I can click on to run the job. And now the jobs have been run, they've been executed. So now I'm going to close this out here, and I'm going to show you the end result. So now you'll be able to see over here at the end of my spreadsheet, I have some information here. I have some links. I have a couple of columns that have been created because of the script that was run. So it looks like everything was merged successfully. And now I can go back to my folder that I created, the Harrison High School walkthrough folder. And in my walkthrough feedback folder, I should see there are my 2 documents with their names already set up. And now if I click inside, there's all their information from the form merged in there, all set, all ready to go. So that is the basic way for setting up your walkthrough forms for your administrator. So that was the basic way to set up your walkthrough form. This is a good starting point. And if you're comfortable with this, I would go ahead and run with that. But I do want to show you some more advanced options. So if you're already familiar with that, if you're already familiar with AutoCAD, I can show you some next level things that you can do to make your walkthrough form easier for your administrators to fill out. And the first way to do this, first thing that you can try is you can try pre-populating your walkthrough forms for your administrator. So when the administrator selects a teacher, all the teacher's information is pre-populated in the form automatically. So we're going to set that up. So the first way we're going to do that is we're going to go back to our form. I'm going to go to our form, and I am going to pre-populate one form. So the easiest way I'm going to do this is I'm going to click on the 3 dots over here. I'm going to select that. I'm going to choose this option that says Get Pre-Filled Link. So I'm going to select that option, and then I'm going to select all the information that I want pre-filled. So I'm just going to start with my first teacher, who is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is connected to that email address, and I'm going to select the grade levels that I have attached for him and his subject area from there. And the rest of these options are going to vary depending on when he's going to be observed, but I know that these 4 things are what I want for him every single time that he is evaluated. So I'm going to fill out just those things, leave the rest of these things blank. I'm going to hit submit, and then it's going to give me a new URL up here. So I'm going to take this URL, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go to my spreadsheet. Now in my spreadsheet, you'll notice I have created another worksheet here called roster. And my roster sheet has every single teacher's in there. I have all their information in here. I was just able to pull this information. Your administrator should have easy access to this. You don't have to get all this information, but I just tried to get as much as I could, what I thought teachers would or administrators would typically want. So I'm going to put that link next to my first person's next to my first person's name. So this is the row where I have all of Tom Brady's information in it. So now I'm going to paste it right here where I have a free column. So there is my link that has his information in it. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to change this information in here. We're going to alter this URL so that we can copy this down to the rest of our teachers. We don't want to have to go teacher by teacher and do a pre-filled information. We're going to set this up so that this can be copied down automatically to all of our other teachers. And so the way that we're going to do that is we are going to insert a function in here called concatenate, and we are going to change this URL up here. So if you follow along, it'll help. So just pay attention as we go through. So all I did was, just so you can see it, I clicked on the cell that had where I pasted my pre-filled URL link, and I just double clicked on it, and then it opened this up for me. And so now I'm going to go at the beginning of this cell, build the beginning information in the cell, and I'm going to type in the following. I'm going to put an equal sign, and I'm going to type in concatenate, and then I'm going to put an open parentheses, and there's the concatenate. So I'm going to put open parentheses at the beginning, and now I'm going to go to the very end of it, and I'm going to put it in close parentheses. So now my whole URL is surrounded by parentheses. So I have equal concatenate, open parentheses, that whole URL, close parentheses. So that's the starting point. The next thing I want to do is I want this URL that's in here, I want this to be not only surrounded by parentheses as you see now, I also want it to be surrounded by quotation marks. So I'm going to put a quotation mark at the beginning and at the end of it. So now you'll see it'll turn green, but I want to make sure that those items in there are surrounded by quotation marks. That's the next step. So now we should have equal concatenate, and then we should have our URL that is surrounded by quotation marks, and then around the quotation marks that should be surrounded by parentheses. That's where we are now. So once we have our equals concatenate, we have our entire URL surrounded by quotation marks and then by parentheses. What we need to do now is make some changes to this URL. So I'm going to skip down here. You see there's kind of a blank section here where it goes to the next line. We want to start at that point where you see, in my case, you see entry, and then you see some numbers. That's basically a code for a particular question. So this is the first question in our form, and then you see the response that I entered for this question, which was Tom Brady. So instead of it saying Tom Brady, what I wanted it to say is the cell reference where Tom Brady's name appears in my spreadsheet. So over here, my Tom Brady's name appears in cell C2. So I want to change Tom Brady's name to C2, which is the cell reference where he's in. So now that I have his cell reference in here, I need to add a couple more things, and then we can move on to the next item. So I want my cell reference to be surrounded by commas. So I'm going to put a comma in the beginning and the end, and then I want to surround those by quotation marks. So I'm going to put in front of the first comma, I'm going to put a quotation mark, and then behind the last comma, I'm going to put a quotation marks. So that's how it should appear. So I have my cell reference. So instead of Tom Brady, I took out my cell. I took Tom Brady out, put my cell reference in there, which was C2 for Tom Brady. I put commas in the front and back of my cell reference, and then I put quotation marks in the front and back behind my commas. So that's what we need to do for each section. So we did that for this first one where we asked for his name. This next part here, we asked for his email address. Well, the email address in this case is in cell F2. So instead of it saying tombrady@harrisonhigh.gmail.com, we want to put the cell reference in there. So I'm going to highlight that, and now I'm going to type in the cell reference F2. F2. And do the same thing that we did before. We want to surround it by commas, comma in the beginning, comma at the end, and then we want to surround those commas by quotation marks. Quotation at the mark at the beginning, quotation mark at the end. All right. And the next thing that we have, the next entry in here, we had our grade level, which in this case was 9th grade. Our grade level is in cell D2. D2. So I'm going to take out this 9th grade and change this. Oops, let me highlight the whole thing. To D2. Oops, forgot to get rid of the 9. D2. So now we're using the cell reference instead of the exact number or the exact information in there. Surrounded by commas, comma at the beginning. Oh, I think I put the wrong thing. Comma at the beginning, comma at the end, then quotation marks surrounding it. So we have our cell reference surrounded by commas, then surrounded by quotation marks. And then finally we do the same thing for the last thing, which was our grade level. So we had art. So art is, this case, is in cell E2. So I'm going to go over here and highlight art and type in E2, surround that by commas, and then surround it again by quotation marks. Okay. And now if we hit enter, we have our document, we have our link all set up. And what's nice about it is now I can copy that link down to everyone else. So I'm just going to double click on this here, and now there is everyone else's link. Okay. So now the last thing I want to do is I just want to make a hyperlink, something that's easy for my teachers to click on, so it takes them right to their name and they know exactly who it's going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that concatenate function one more time, and then that's going to set this up so that's easy for my administrators just to click and go. So I'm going to end this empty cell. So I had this cell here where I had my formula, that, my URL that I just fixed. Right next to that, I'm going to do, excuse me, not the concatenate. We're going to use the hyperlink function. We're going to use the hyperlink function to connect what we want here. So I'm going to type in equals hyperlink, and now I got to choose what URL I want it to go to. Well, I want it to go to this URL with their pre-filled information. So I'm going to select that one in G2 and hit comma, and now I'm going to choose my label. Well, my label is going to be their name. So I'm going to choose C2 because that's where their name is. So I'm going to select that, close parentheses, and then hit enter. And there it is. There's my link with that goes directly to Tom Brady's information. And now if I copy this down by double clicking, there is everybody else's. And now if I click on another teacher's name, oops, it'll open up their form with their information pre-populated in there. So now all the principal has to do is, click on a teacher's name, and it will go to that form with their information pre-populated in there. All right, so the last item, remember this is an additional item, so it's not something that you have to do, but it is something that principals have seemed to appreciate when we do this. But this last section is where we're going to set up our spreadsheet to send the information to a particular folder. So if a principal fills out information on the 9th grade teacher, it's going to go to the 9th grade folder. If it goes to if they're filling out something for the 10th grade teacher, it's going to go to a 10th grade folder. It's just nice organizationally for administrators to search and evaluate teachers from similar grade levels. Now you can do this from other items. Like I said, you can also do this from subject area or any other kind of identifiable item that you want to include in your form. I'm just doing mine based off of grade level. This is more advanced and it's going to require some knowledge of functions. I'm going to walk you through it, but again, please note that this is not required. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create folders. You'll see in my walkthrough feedback folder, I created my grade level folders, my 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade folders. So that part has been set up, so I developed each one of those in here, and this is where all of my feedback will go to. So now when I fill out a evaluation on a 12th grade teacher, is going to go in this folder instead of sitting out here mixed in with all the other grade levels. So you have to create these folders. The next thing that you need to do is in your spreadsheet in here, you'll notice this is where my responses were. This is where the roster where we set up our pre-filled information. I also created another worksheet called folder ID. So this is my folder ID folder. I just gave it 2 columns. That's all you need. I did mine by grade level, and I created another column called folder ID. Now, obviously, again, if you chose to do yours by something else like subject area, you would have subject areas there instead of grade level. So I listed all my grade levels here, and then what I had to do is for each grade level, I had to get the folder ID for each folder. So let me show you how you do that. So let me go back to my folders here. So each folder, when you click on it, so I'm going to double click to open it, it's going to have a folder ID up here. And I'm going to select this up here. So it is, the folder ID is everything that is in this URL after the folder slash. So when I see folder slash in the URL, everything after that is my folder ID. So I copied this and then I pasted it right here. And then I went back and did the same thing for 10th grade. So I just did 9th grade. So now if I go to 10th grade, if I open this up, everything after my folder slash, which starts here, I just highlight that, copy it, and then I pasted it here. And then I repeated that for 11th and 12th grade there. So now I have each folder, and I had the folder ID for each one of those. So the next thing is for me to go into my form responses. So I'm going to click on my form responses, and I need to create a brand new column up here. So I need to just scroll over until I find a empty column. So here's my first empty column here, and I'm going to type in folder ID, and that is going to be my new column. And the next part is where it gets a little complicated, and I'm going to do my best to walk you through it. So now we have to create a VLOOKUP that is going to search for the folder ID based off of the grade level the teacher selects, or the grade level the administrator selects. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. So in here, in my column, we're going to type in equals, and we're going to type in VLOOKUP. So as soon as you start typing in VLOOK, it should automatically pop up. So I'm going to select VLOOKUP, and now it's going to give me my tutorial here that we need to go through. So the first thing is it's going to ask me for what's my search key, what am I looking for? Well, in this case we're looking at the grade level, whatever the grade level is. So my grade level is right here, so I'm going to select that and put a comma. Okay, and then you see it moves me on to the next one, and then it says, okay, we're looking for grade level. What range are we looking for grade level in? Well, we're going to be looking for it in that folder ID sheet that we made. So I'm going to go to my folder ID sheet. I'm going to select that table. You don't have to select the headers. I'm just going to select everything underneath the headers, and that is going to be my range. I'm going to select a comma. So that moves us on to the next section. So we have our search key, we have the range that we're going to look for it in, and so now it's asking us for an index, basically asking us what column are we going to be pulling information from. We know you want to search by grade level, you know this is the table. Once we find it, what column do we want to pull information from? Well, in this case we want it to be the second column. We only have 2, so it's fairly easy. If we had multiple columns, then it might complicate things a little bit more, but it's just typing in the number of the column that we want to pull our information from. So we want to pull the folder ID. So I'm going to type in a 2. After the 2, I'm going to put a comma, and then it's going to ask me for this last part, where this section basically asking me, is this information sorted? Which in this case it's not, so I'm going to say false. And then that's going to be the end of this. So I'm going to put close parentheses. I'm going to hit enter. And then you'll see over here that it automatically pulled the folder ID for 9th grade, because that was what we selected for this particular teacher. It was a 9th grade teacher, so it pulled the 9th grade folder. You'll notice this one end in capital V, lowercase k, capital E. Well, that is what our 9th grade folder is. If I copy this down to the next teacher, who was a 10th grade teacher, you'll see it picked it up as capital R, lowercase m, lowercase s. That's what it is for 10th graders. Okay, there's one more thing that we need to do to that formula over here. So you'll notice that this table this range that we selected, we want that to be the same as we copy it down. We don't want that to change. You'll notice that when I copied it down to the next one, it changed. It went from A2 to A3, it went from B5 to B6. We don't want that to change. We want that to always be the same. So we have to include anchors in here. The anchors are just dollar signs. So we need to put a dollar sign in front of the column and the row, in which case for us it is the letter and the number, so it knows not to change when we copy it down. So I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of this A. Put the wrong thing there. Okay, try that again. I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the A and in front of the 2. So it knows not for A2 not to change. I'm going to do the same thing in front of B5. Dollar sign in front of the B, dollar sign in front of the 5. I'm going to hit enter, and now when I copy this down, and now if I look at this one, it's the same. So that's what I want. Okay, so now we have our folder ID set up. So we have 2 more steps left, but the hard part is already done. So the 2 steps are, first thing that we need to do is we need to include one more add-on. It's a very simple one, and it's called the copy down add-on. Again, you can go to get add-ons to find it, but we're going to use the copy down add-on. And what we're going to use this for is we're going to copy that formula down every single time someone fills out the form. If we don't use this, then spreadsheet is going to create a new row every single time a form is submitted, and it won't pick up the formula. We want it to pick it up every single time somebody hits submit. So we're going to use a copy down formula to set that up. So go to add-on, copy down settings. It's going to pull up. We're going to turn the copy down formulas form submit on. So it searched for all the formulas in our spreadsheet in the second column, and it found the one that we did for folder ID. So we want to check that box off where it says paste as value. So you want to make sure that box is checked, hit save, and that's it. That's all we had to do for that one. So that part is done. You'll notice here that at the end of it, you'll see that purple column down there letting you know that everything has been set up. So now, the last thing that we have to do is we have to go back to our Autocrat. So I'm going to go over here to add-ons. I'm going to go back to Autocrat, and we need to open up that merge that we previously did. So once it opens, there is the merge that I did before. I want to make an edit to this. I don't need to create a brand new one. I just want to modify this one some. So I'm going to go, when I hover over, I want to click on the pencil there where it says edit job. And now I need to go to a particular section. So the name of my merge is fine. I don't need to change that. I don't need to change my template. That part is fine. I don't need to edit anything here in the map source. So that part is fine. My naming convention is not going to change. So that is just fine as well. This is the part where I'm going to make a change. So now, instead of all of my feedback going into this particular folder, we're going to set it up to go to the 9th, 10th, 11th grade folder based off of what grade level that they select. So I'm actually going to delete this. We're not going to put anything in our choose destination folder. So we're going to delete this. I'm going to say yes. So this part is going to be blank, actually. And then I'm going to select next. And this part where it says number 6, add dynamic folder reference, this is the part where we tell Autocrat which folder which folders are going to be the dynamic folders. So I'm going to select this blue reference folder. It's going to pull up all the columns in my spreadsheet, and I need to select the folder ID one. So that is where it's going to pull the folder ID to know where all this stuff will go. After that, everything else will stay the same. My merge condition is not going to change. This part is not going to change. My trigger is not going to change. So I'm just going to select save. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to fill out a form. Let's start from our spreadsheet here. I'm going to go to my roster. I'm going to pick a teacher. Of course, as a person in Carolina, I have to pick Cam Newton. And we're going to fill out this form for Cam Newton. All right, so I filled out my form for Cam Newton. There are his responses, my responses for him. If I go back to my form here, you'll notice his didn't show up here. It didn't appear here. Cam Newton was a ninth grade teacher, excuse me. So if I go to my 9th grade folder, there's my Cam Newton walkthrough feedback. So that part is set up with all of his feedback and his information set up in there correctly. So that is setting up your walkthrough form. We went through a basic, we went through some advanced settings using the dynamic folder reference and the pre-filled data. I hope this information was helpful for you. If you have additional questions, please feel free to put a comment in the question box, and I'll be happy to do what I can to answer any of your questions. Thank you.